Hi, my name is Sonia, and you're listening to Heartland, a fan podcast from a fan perspective. Welcome back to the podcast. It's time to wrap 2023, and why don't we wrap season 17 era officially as well? I asked you guys what you thought about season 17, like what were the highs and the lows, and what will you remember this season by? And you gave me some great answers, so I'm gonna read them first and then talk about some of my thoughts about the season. As Davidson simply said, it was an amazing season. HL Horses said, I really liked this season. I very much enjoyed the introduction of Nathan and his storylines with Amy. Lisa also got a lot of storylines and I liked all of them, which was great. Some things that surprised me was Dan dying, Nathan having a connection to Lou, and them celebrating Lisa's birthday. Also, I really liked the finale. It was definitely the best finale we've had in the past few seasons. It was nice to see them bring Shane back again and not just have one and done last season. Same with Miranda. Tim had some great scenes this year, especially with Shane. Some things I didn't like were Caleb and Amy kissing and the fact that it seems we might not be seeing Rick at all anymore. Some things I noticed this season was that Peter was in like 3 scenes total, even after they made a big deal of them getting back together. I know that's probably budget slash actor schedule, but still. Also, we never heard another word about Theo after a big deal was made in the finale last season. Finally, I noticed that Lindy hardly had anything to do this season. I think she had one storyline, and then the rest of the season, she was kinda in the background and didn't even have that much dialogue. All in all, I really enjoyed the season and can't wait for season 18. Then Mishimu said, such a great show. I have a hard time when people put Ty up on this pedestal since he had a lot of issues that caused Amy a ton of pain over the years. I am excited to see a new relationship for her, especially someone who is willing to admit their wrongs and apologize like an adult and be upfront. I hope they make a great and positive relationship for them. Amy deserves some peace and love in her life. They can have drama on the outside of the relationship that they deal with, not the inside. Aside from maybe him working through his past traumas in a healthy way. I loved every single character this season. Even Lou finally seems to have some character development. I absolutely love this last episode. Episodes 6, 9, and 10 were my favorites so far. I loved all of the little details that they added into each. I even got my husband to watch with me. He never watched previous seasons, but even he loved Nathan and Amy's story and wants to watch the next season with me. We are Montanans, so we call him Montana and have a little bit of silly state pride, even though he wasn't born there. Then Lise Again Forever said, I really enjoyed the season and have hardly any complaints. Absolutely love that Lou got some attention and the family worrying about her. The scene with young Lou and Tim hugging was really touching. I also cheered for Lou in the last episode when she let Garland Foods know that Heartland don't need them. Katie turned into someone I would have loved to be at that age. Her scenes with her grandpa were interesting and funny. I found Nathan a bit boring at first, but I agree with Amy. The more we get to know him, the more interesting he gets. There's definitely chemistry, and I like how he talks to Amy and also how he stands his ground with Tim and Jack. It was so refreshing seeing Lisa out of the house and getting to know new things about her. If I hadn't been a Tim fan since the beginning, I would have become one this season. He's evolved so much, and I love the portrayal of Tim and Jessica's relationship. Having Shane back and addressing his sister's abandonment, as well as Miranda, is something I have wanted to see for years, and I wasn't disappointed. All in all, one of the strongest seasons since the early days, but way too short. Wish they had mentioned Georgie at least once. Then Sharon said, I really enjoyed the whole season. Each episode brought something different each time, freshing the series with several characters being written out: Edwin, Sam, Rick, Parker, and Caleb. I think we will see Caleb in one or two episodes next season. New characters introduced: Nathan, Ellie, and Brandon. Katie's storyline, seeing her mature and knowing her direction and her passions. The horror stories were different, but at times were only a side story. Seeing a teenager Lou in episode 7 was definitely favorite, as the acting, direction, and editing were fantastic. The potential romance between Amy and Nathan brings new life to Heartland. Lisa showing a different side and bringing Jack with her, getting him away from the ranch and experiencing a different side of life instead of Jack being stuck in the past. Tim, Lou, and Amy reconnecting with Shane and clearing up questions of why his sisters didn't stay in touch. Mallory and Jade becoming parents wrapped up their story from season 16. Storyline were varied and mostly aimed at an older audience. In seasons 14 and 15, the lighting was dark, but this reflected the mood of Amy and the family. But as Amy began to move forward, she was happier, and seasons 16 and 17 became brighter. I do have a couple of questions. How come Amy has no scar from the bullet wound? I know Amy and Katie have different interests, but they don't have a relationship, which to me is weird. Open stories ready for next season are Heartland Beef, how Lou is coping being a part of the family business, Amy and Nathan, and how they will navigate their romance, how Tim and Jack will react towards Nathan, and if they accept him. That would be hypocritical of them, as Lou and Amy accepted Lisa and Jessica. I can see Tim speaking to Nathan like he does to Peter, with no respect. Will Jessica Gallery become a success? Will Tim get a new horse? Will Katie and Brandon become more than friends? So many stories still to come. This year, the show became more about Heartland and the family, and not just Amy. The new direction of Heartland Women is welcoming and long overdue. I was surprised by young Lou that she said how her mother said it was all Tim's fault. Why would she say this to her child? This is something the writers could explore: the difficult relationship between Marion and Lou. Would love to see Jack out of his comfort zone more often. I thoroughly enjoyed season 17 and hope for more seasons. Would definitely love to see more sister moments and more in depth horror stories, and maybe a new version. Waiting for season 18. And then for my thoughts, I think that overall the season delivered what it promised to offer, dealing with the past and going forward with the new. The things I will remember this season from will probably be Lou's journey, the Heartland Beef storyline, and Nathan joining the show. The things that surprised me most was the writing out of some of the characters like Logan, Parker, and Caleb. I mean, it remains to be seen right now if they'll be part of the future season or seasons. But still, it was surprising that they were kind of written out, at least from this season. I'm also glad they gave Remy a proper send off and showed what the future of Mallory and Jake might look like. Overall, I think the season had a great variety of life's struggles and triumphs, and it reflected how life can sometimes be. For Amy, when I think back the season, I like that the season was sort of softly challenging for Amy. It started out with similar themes we've seen before, but then at the end of the episode one, we had a moment where Amy expressed maybe she was ready for some change, to have someone in her corner and all that. So it was really nice to see her actually vocalizing that. I think it was nice to see after she's sort of being caught in the middle of this like life situation she's just had to endure because this is her deciding that she can have a say in something too. I enjoyed that they kept building it up, this like new phase for her, sort of feeling their way forward, because that's often how life is. Like, you don't know what's going to happen next, like if this is the right decision or maybe this will lead to a dead end. With Amy's character, the audience tends to love her formula, healing horses and all that. And I don't think they should ever take that away from her because that's Amy. But I feel like the real playground is outside that field. Their mentorship with Logan, for example, or her going on dates, and the reconnection with Shane being those things this season, for example. It all felt very natural to Amy's character, and it pushed her character out of her comfort zone in a little bit, just enough for us to see a difference in her character going from episode 1 to episode 10. As for Lou, I feel like this was a big year for her. We start with her losing the mayoral election, but it was, in my opinion, refreshing new start for her character, even though we lost that Lou Rick connection in the process. But what I liked about it was it really left us wondering, what's next for Lou? And even she didn't know that, which I think was a good move for her character because she's so used to planning out the next steps ahead. So now she kind of had to be kind of uncertain about her future, which I think challenged her need to control everything. I really liked the flashback story, even though it makes me wonder if it has more to do with supporting Amy's character journey rather than Lou's. That remains to be seen right now, but I hope that if we get to see more of Nathan, that he doesn't only just connect with Amy or Tim or Jack, but also with Lou on some level as well, because they had this past connection. So it would be kind of odd if that was never really revisited again. Also, not that I'm a big fan of Lou and Peter, but I was really surprised how little of Peter we actually saw this season. It almost feels like he's not really needed anymore, but I guess if that keeps the focus on Lou's character growth instead of some type of will they, won't they love arc, then I'm all for it. As for Jack and Lisa's storylines, thinking back, I feel like Jack didn't necessarily pop this season, but I didn't mind it. After all, it kind of shows his role in the family. He's there when you need him, but not making a big number out of himself. It was nice to see him supporting Lisa for once, and it made sense for him to not be perfect at it right away because it's often be the other way around after all. I wouldn't mind if they kept this up. It would be so refreshing to see more Lisa centric stories where Jack is there to offer a shoulder to lean on, so to speak. It would also be more age appropriate for Jack's character to not be in the middle of all the action and all that. So I think they could really use Lisa's character as a way to have that sort of older generation storyline going on while still having Jack involved. When it comes to Tim and Jessica, while I feel like this was very prominently Lou's year, I also feel like Tim really got to shine. I've really enjoyed his growth these past few seasons, and I really think season 17 especially highlighted all the good sides he has to him. I think they've laid out the groundwork really well, and it becomes rewarding when it's summed up like it was in this season. Some of the highlights for me were him working Katie's dirt bike with her, and the storylines involving Shane, and seeing him support Jessica and Lou in their newer pursuits. As for Jessica, I don't really have much to say about her character's journey this season. I mean, I love her, but sometimes I'm confused about the choices the writers make with her. I thought I had her character figured out by now, but it seems like the writers see her differently. So I'm a little lost with her at times. The episode that stood out to me when it comes to her character is the season 17 finale. Even though she didn't have a lot of scenes, I feel like with the scenes she had, she was able to bring in the true Jessica essence, so to speak. then when I think about Katie, when the season started, I didn't have any idea where it would take her character. But looking back, it was a big season for her, even though she didn't necessarily have that many scenes compared to some of the other characters. But I feel like her growth was one of the biggest this season, which makes sense because she's at that age where you start to find new sides to yourself. I'm excited to see where the story takes her next. She's become one of my favorite characters after this season. And then when I was trying to think what happened with Lindy this season, I kind of felt like there wasn't much to go with. In fact, I was surprised to see how little Lindy there was this season. But in a way, I don't know where else she would have fit in. I think she definitely had a moment to shine when Miley got hurt and Amy had to help Lindy with her fear of horses. In a way, I would have hoped that that storyline would have challenged Amy more as a mother or general as a person who loves horses, works with horses, and has a daughter who might have a future with horses, but then maybe doesn't after something like this. Maybe they could have continued that storyline for a few more episodes. I don't know. But I did like how Lindy connected with Molly, Nathan's dog, and how that sort of offered a way for her to get to know Nathan a little bit too and make her feel comfortable around him. Because I do think that Amy and Nathan have a future together. So I'm really excited to see how that connection with Lindy and Nathan will hopefully continue to grow. So those were my initial thoughts when thinking back this season. But before I end this episode, I just wanted to let you know I'm going to take a little break with the podcast because this fall winter season has been pretty intense for me, both as someone who makes this podcast, but also in my personal life. I've really recognized I've been mentally exhausted lately, which doesn't offer a very creative space for myself. I feel like I need to get a little bit bored and give myself a little more room to think and not do this almost as if this is like a chore. I still have some episodes planned for this podcast season, which I'm planning to put out early 2024, but when exactly that is, I can't say yet. I feel like I need to take a little breather and see how the dust settles to have a better idea about that. So stay tuned. But I just want to say thank you everyone for tagging along this season. It's been so fun to hear your thoughts every week. As the new year starts, I hope you're able to reinvent some parts of your life as well, just like the characters we follow every week do, and have a chance for a little rest as well. Life can get a little hectic sometimes. But, anyways, till next time, keep your noses clean and your powder dry, as they say. I'll see you in 2024. Bye.